Hello, my friends. This is Dr. Diana as patient, and I am pretty ill. Today, I wanted to reach out to my friends with hyperadrenergic POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, a beast of a condition that deserves some special attention, as do the folks who suffer with it. And by saying suffer, I mean suffer. There are many chronic illnesses which can be more than challenging to live with, but because I was diagnosed with hyperadrenergic POTS 9 years ago, and my son suffers with this form of dysautonomia, I know personally how difficult it is for our doctors, our friends, and our loved ones to even begin to comprehend what we deal with. Now, when I first got sick and had to battle for my diagnosis of POTS, as you likely did, I experienced firsthand the disbelief from most everyone around me that my symptoms could be possibly as bad as I was describing. Lack of validation is one of the worst aspects of this condition, and I am here today as both a patient and as a doctor of optometry to tell you, and whomever you may share this with, that your symptoms are indeed real. Now, I came across a couple of articles that can help explain what this feels like. I want to share them with you today. I'll attach these articles on my website under articles and handouts for your reference, okay? When I was first sick, I was on forums asking what it felt like to have hyperadrenergic POTS. I wanted to share other people's experiences as my family and counselor. I thought it would help them to understand how I felt, since it was so difficult to put into words, and it would assure them that it wasn't just me also. So reaching out to others, social media, gotta love it. And at the time, I was having episodes where I would literally fall to the floor on all fours, unable to breathe. My heart was racing, my blood pressure was sky high, and I described it as it felt like I was being both poisoned and electrocuted simultaneously. Now, of course, I've never been poisoned or electrocuted, but that was the best way I could describe it. I was at a cardiologist's office one day during an episode. What did he do? He stayed behind his desk watching and disbelieving. No one should have to be dismissed like that. No one. And I am so sorry if that has happened to you. As the years went by and the dramatic episodes lessened, but my periods of normalcy between the episodes also disappeared, rats, I felt as though I was being eaten alive from the inside out. Again, very difficult to describe, obviously. So here's an article that helps describe this. In hyperadrenergic POTS, as you likely know, our levels of norepinephrine are ridiculously high when we're vertical. We are quite literally flooded with adrenaline. Akathisia is a term that can be used to describe this feeling, although it's generally used in the less severe demonstrations of restless leg syndrome or in Parkinson's patients, for example, who've likely had a little bit too much L-DOPA. It can be experienced by those going through withdrawal from benzodiazepines. So what is it? It's a syndrome characterized by unpleasant sensations of inner restlessness. It was discovered that akathisia involves increased levels of the neurotransmitter norepinephrine. So let's take it up a notch now for those with hyperadrenergic POTS. Our norepi levels can be 100 times normal. What the heck does that do to us? Now, norepi overload can cause increased alertness, insomnia, anyone? But it can also cause aggression and arousal. Now, who here has thrown something at their loved one in the middle of one of those episodes? Who hasn't is a better question. I felt like I was possessed. I knew my behavior wasn't characteristic of my usual easygoing demeanor, but I couldn't control it. It was horrifying. This article goes on to describe how high-functioning patients, that would be you and I, my friend, describe the feeling as a sense of inner tension and torment or chemical torture. Absolutely. I have used that word many times in describing how I felt. Healy et al., article attached, described tension, insomnia, a sense of discomfort and motor restlessness, and marked anxiety and panic. The same condition can occur with some antipsychotic drugs, and Jack Henry Abbott describes it like this, a patient. These drugs in this family do not calm or sedate the nerves. They attack from so deep inside you, you cannot locate the source of the pain. The muscles of your jawbone go berserk so that you bite the inside of your mouth and your jaw locks and the pain throbs. For hours every day this will occur. Your spinal column stiffens so that you can hardly move your head or your neck, and sometimes your back bends like a bow and you cannot stand up. The pain grinds into your fiber. You ache with restlessness, so you feel like you have to walk to pace. And then as soon as you start pacing, the opposite occurs to you. You must sit and rest. Back and forth, up and down you go in pain you cannot locate. In such wretched anxiety, you are overwhelmed because you cannot get relief even in breathing. Sound familiar? Now, SSRIs can sometimes cause this condition and can lead to suicide and homicide. The DSM-4 acknowledges the association of akathisia with suicide and states akathisia may be associated with dysphoria, irritability, you think, aggression, or suicide attempts. Now, I would have to add cutting to that list, as I see so many of our younger patients resort to cutting with this condition. What is dysphoria, you ask? Well, consulting my friend Wiki, dysphoria is described as a state of feeling unwell or unhappy. A feeling of emotional and mental discomfort is a symptom of discontentment, restlessness, dissatisfaction, malaise, depression, anxiety, or indifference, and suicide ideation. So, aren't we fun to live with? Ugh. Now, one of my friends who was lucky enough to be in the hospital with this said that if there weren't bars on the windows, she would have happily jumped out the window. I have also sometimes felt the need to try to escape my body. I'd consider something like taking a trip or moving, but then I'd realize that my body would unfortunately come with me. That, not an option. So, not unusual. I was forced to try to deal with this, as you are, while simultaneously researching, as you have done. So, what is my research showing me? One, we have more chemicals to deal with than just norepinephrine, as if that isn't enough. Most of us have surges of histamine also, certainly, which can exacerbate all of the symptoms. So if you and your doctors have not tried antihistamines, please discuss it with them. My son was able to return to school after 3 years of complete disability after 2 weeks of double dose H1 and H2 antagonists. My phone, sorry. He used Zyrtec and Zantac, for example. Now, I was put on Cymbalta, a norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor, which helps reduce the amount of norepinephrine in your system. And Xanax helped with some of the surges I was having, but all of us are different, right? All disclaimers in place. Please check with your doctors, but I wanted to tell you that, one, I no longer need Cymbalta, which is great because it's really pricey. Also, as I continued to figure out what chemicals I needed to target, I actually was able to go off of Xanax, cold turkey. No one does that. Well, I'm working as hard, as fast, as quickly as I can to get some of this to you, okay? But meanwhile, please feel free to share this video with your loved ones and remind them to duck if something gets hurled their way, okay? There is a way out of this dreadful condition, my friends. Please hang on to hope. Meanwhile, I hope this explanation can help you with your journey until all this gets sorted out. Till next time, my friend, let's continue to change our world, one brain cell at a time, if we have to. Gentle hugs. Bye-bye.
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style.
Salon, 一家有情有价。